All right, we'll call to order the meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, 3.0 is a roll call of school board members and everyone is here except for Larson and Perkowitz, but we have a quorum, so we continue. 4.0 is to approve the agenda. I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Amanda's a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on the agenda? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. 5.0 communication reports, and we'll start with Andrew Robertson.
If we can, just so that anyone online can hear.
Come on up.
And if you just kind of press, get the green. Get it to turn green.
You gotta push it down. Yeah,
There we go. Hi. I'm Andrew. I'm here to represent the Valley Golf Course Association Board. Hopefully everybody in front of you got one of these sheets. It's kind of a breakdown of what the golf course benefits they give the school for middle school and high school golf, as you can see on there. So we're here today to ask for a recommendation to approve the 2-year agreement raise in cost for 26 and 27. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
So right now, the top header is what we pay, the 7,500?
That is correct.
Okay, so then you're asking for the bottom corner, the 26, 27 fees?
That is correct. And there's some of the costs that, on the left side of like, tee times, what the kids get every day, 4 times a week. They're out there, what it normally would cost if we were to sell them to anybody else, and then the meets breakdown. And we did just redo the range twice, not necessarily just for the schools, but that's a big portion of it, because in the springtime you get 70+ people out there using that, and grass doesn't like to grow the best in the springtime, so we did just double the size of it. So we're just looking for a little extra. We do want, obviously, golf in
Yeah.
the schools and kids to come out and play, so this is just some of the stuff that we offer.
Andrew, the 2026 proposal says 50% of cost for junior membership. Does that mean the free memberships are going away and it's going to be 50%?
Yes, so
Okay.
basically when they're on the golf team, they get their membership through the golf year. And then
Yeah.
once the golf year is done, it's half of what the normal membership
Okay,
junior rate.
Oh,
So it's $200. The 2026 rate is $200 for like 18 and below, whatever. So basically after the season, it's families. If they have a family membership, then the kids will go on the family membership. If they just buy individual ones, it's $100.
okay. That's still an incredible discount.
Yeah.
How long has it been since they've raised these?
That I don't know. I've been on the board for about 3 years, and I don't think it's been in the last 3 years.
Increased since then? Okay.
So don't have that.
I don't
answer.
ever remember discussing.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's why I asked, because I'm like, I don't remember the last time this came before us, so that
Yeah.
might be.
I don't know if it's ever came before you guys.
Okay.
I
Fair
had a conversation with Kevin earlier this year about like the locker situation in the basement. I know a lot of kids leave their bags there. There's been some instances of people's stuff getting taken out of bags. I know there are lockers down there, but they don't fit like a full-size bag. Is that something in the future we could look at? Possibly, I don't know if the golf course would pay for it, if the school would pay for it, of putting correct size lockers in there, at least for the good portion of those bags that people could.
Yeah, we could definitely discuss it. I guess I didn't know they kept a bunch down there, but I do know that we, redid some of the course or the clubhouse, and it's
Yeah.
got full security now as far
Okay.
as cameras 360.
Oh,
So
perfect.
if anything does.
I think that, yeah, as long as the kids know that, that should
Yeah, and that
cover a lot of
just
it.
got installed last winter, so hopefully
Okay.
last spring we didn't have any issues. I didn't hear of any issues.
Okay.
But
Sure.
it didn't come to me either.
Well, if
Okay.
they don't know, they'll find out quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Hopefully not.
something maybe we can relay that message to the kids to make sure.
Yeah, and
they
that's
know
something we
the-
could definitely talk about in the future, is actually getting proper storage lockers down there.
Okay.
Something I have to talk with the general manager with and see what he's got for availability of space down there.
Sure,
He's got a bunch of stuff down there, so I don't-
just something, yeah, to think about anyways.
How does this move forward today? Are we looking to vote on this today, or how? do we
Well,
Add
I-
it. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. It's not asking.
I mean,
my
if you just
opinion.
kind of give me the nod, I also mentioned we don't have any type of contract, so I will get something put together, that just
Okay.
for both sides. I mean,
Yeah,
so-
obviously we have insurance, we have all that stuff, but at least there's something that if someone came in like
And this is
myself
also
going,
for cross-country meets out there as
Oh,
well.
sure.
So
Yeah.
it's all kind of
Yeah.
lumped together.
So
it's
why don't we put something together and then when that's together, we'll vote on it?
correct. Why don't, again, I don't hear any, I'm just gonna say, I'll put something, I'll get contact info from Brian and can send, I mean, within a day or two, I can throw
Sounds good.
some. I'll send it out, make sure it's okay. We meet in 2 weeks. It'll be out for formal approval, and we can go forward. That makes sense?
Yeah, I think the golf course has always treated the kids very
Mhm.
well, with the free memberships and getting them on the course when they want, and yeah,
Yep. So,
Okay,
perfect. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
thank you.
thank you.
All right. Next is enrollment update, 5.2.
If you look, at your enrollment update, we are down, I'm not gonna go through, there's some things that are up, some are down. We're down 10 kids. And for the most part, and again, I'm not, throwing darts or anything, we have 10 more kids online second semester when the semester break came. There's a couple that are for sure, I'm gonna say due to the cultural environment of what's going on in Minnesota and the world. The rest are mainly just kids that have decided to grass is greener, but it is a piece. We're up to, help me out, is it 31? 30 or 31 kids that are online. That's significant. That's actually, financially. So we have started having a conversation to look at providing that service next year.
Yeah,
It still will cost something, but it's not 100% going out the door.
right.
So that's where we're at enrollment wise. Like I said, we will.
Platform. Or in the building, but it would be something we can do outside of the building as well.
So these online kids, the 31 online kids are not in this total?
Correct.
So if we had them in the total, that'd be 1947.
Correct. And
Okay.
what happens is technically we still claim them, but the majority of money is going out.
Sure.
And so that's why they're coming off. Like I say, we're claiming them, we're paying the bill, and through Auton Online, we get a break. But the reality is we can provide the same exact thing.
Right.
I mean, we can have the exact same platform if we want. It won't allow us to take kids from other districts, but it would work for our kids. If we want kids from outside, we have to start like a separate school district. If you wanted kids from Crooks and Fisher, whatever, and not say we can't someday, but let's start with our own first
Yeah.
and go forward. So,
When the state funds you per pupil, and I should know this, what's the cutoff date for when they, is it the beginning of?
they can come and go. They could go tomorrow. They can go any day you want.
No, but I mean, is there a count that you have to give the state, like we had this many pupils, so this is how much you give us? When is that?
Okay, but what happens, that's why we get like a 90-10 split.
Yeah,
So like we're getting 10% on last year because the numbers change and they
Sure.
play a catch up. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's just like if a family moved a month from now, we have to unenroll a kid or kids. That gets reported to the state, they've been paying on that kid in essence, that they're gonna be here. It'll get flushed out, as we go forward then in that catch up, so to speak.
okay,
So, I mean, that,
We have a pretty good agreement with Owatonna that they won't take people, usually they won't take people like after 2 weeks into their semester. Just because they don't figure they're gonna get their stuff done
yeah,
in a month's time, so. They made exceptions to that every once in a while for some people, but most of the time it's a 2-week window.
okay.
After this, but
Any questions on enrollment?
No.
Okay, 5.3 finance update.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
We'll start with the budget to actual. We are knee deep in the amended budget process, so there's not too much change from last month. Just to note that we are at 84.4% in our supplies. But actually, a lot of that is budgeted down into the other expenditures where we don't know exactly, like we might not have it earmarked for something specific yet. So which is our per cycle or our curriculum cycle is what we used it for this year. So as we do the amended budget, that'll move up into that supplies budget line. And that's all I had on that page. Does anybody have any questions? All right, on the next page, we are moving along as we should. Our revenue for food service is up a little bit, along with community ed. So I'm happy to see those going in the right directions. And that's about what I have on that page.
Any questions for Carla?
And then same with the treasurer's report, just looking at our fund balances, we are moving in the same direction we were last month. Just wanted to make a note that I have to apologize for. I didn't realize I didn't change my prior year number, which is actually 5,558,000 instead of the 7.2 million. I will get that changed and uploaded right after the meeting. So, but that's what I have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, 5.4 is administration and staff reports. We'll start with you, Superintendent Grover.
Okay, just a couple things. Girls hockey is I think everyone's aware, we've been approached again. We did push that back to next month or next meeting,
meeting.
sorry, next meeting. Scott and I will come with kind of what we feel, the proposal would be if it is, supported or not supported. In other words, what are we going to charge type deal, per person. Again, if the board approves, we can change it, whatever. We'll have something. One member had asked, should we ask them, to come with something? I guess I feel if it's ours and
Yeah.
we'll come forward. And again, if you have questions or if there's anything else people want, in my mind, nothing has really changed since, what was it, 4 months ago, 5 months, whenever we, last summer when we talked
Yeah.
about, as far as, but if there's something you need, or think of, let us know and we'll do the best we can to get that.
Is it possible to see what their current agreement is with Crookston? To compare, or I mean, at least maybe is Scott aware of, or you're aware of?
I'm aware for the
Okay.
most part. They, what was explained to us before is they actually, Crookston actually takes a per pupil count, total budget and they divide it up. Significant, I'm just being honest, significant cost. And it's up to you if you want to go that route or not. That's what Crookston's doing with, I think they have 3 or 4 schools they're with now. And so they're dividing it that way. That's not exactly what we're thinking. I'm just going to be honest at this point. Now, down the road, someone brought up, well, what happens down the road if they have half the kids? Well, it's a 2-year agreement. You
Yeah.
can look at it at that point then. And yeah, I think that's a different
Sure.
situation, but so
You gonna share that ahead of time?
yeah,
Okay.
we'll get something typed up and put together.
Okay.
And like I said, shoot it out. I'll reach out, and I'm just giving Lynn and Amanda a heads up. You two are on the finance committee, and then, there's a couple reserves or whatever you want to call, it, but we would like to meet here. I'm thinking towards the end of February. But I'll shoot out and see if there's a date and time that works best type deal. One thing I did want to throw out, are hours for seniors. And again, where this is going, we'll talk more about the calendar when we get to that. But this year, just so everyone's aware, the minimum hours for seniors is 1,020, okay? Our calendar, the way it sits right now, it has 1,021. So my point being is we've used 4 e-learning days. We have 1 more to use. There's not much wiggle room in there.
Yeah.
And so it's a piece that, looking at the new calendar, assuming it's approved, we're a little better off, but we'll talk about it. But I just throw that out because, knock on wood, it stays like this and everything's good and we don't have any more days. But if we go under that, we lose funding or you make it up. And so again, we have 1 day, if you look on our calendar, that we say on that, I'm going to call it Easter break, that Monday would be makeup
Yeah.
day. And
That happens.
We've done that
That
before.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
so that would give us 2,
Probably.
but So anyway,
Better
I
than
just,
at the end, I think.
yeah, so
Yeah.
throwing that out there, just so everyone's in the know. The other piece that I just kind of want to forewarn is, you know, we're starting to work, the principals are on scheduling and staffing for next year. And there are some options on how things roll. And I'm just gonna use Mr. Enright's position. You know, we'll post for like wood, so to speak, but there is some wiggle room. There's a person that maybe would do the same thing Jim did. And so you might see several postings and go, hang on, just hold tight. Everything comes to the board. You know, we're not posting things just to post things.
Sure.
But as we work through some different situations and scenarios of where people could move or whatever, just keep that in mind.
Fishing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, and again, so I just wanted to throw that out because we are gonna start, you know, letting some things go here in February, meaning out. And obviously, you know, as we work through budgets and this and that, everything will come to the board. But don't just all of a sudden, hey, who's leaving? You know, if you see a science posting or an English posting, or just don't assume necessarily it could be something where someone, you know, may move around if we need them to. So
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that out. I think that's all I have at this time.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Dara.
Good evening.
Oh.
As you all know, every year, the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee comes up with a plan, how we're going to use the funding to best serve our students. That is due at the beginning of June. It is now the time of year where we vote to say, yes, we've been doing this, it's going well, and then we present that to the board. We were in a vote of concurrence, everyone agreed, and that is what I am presenting today. I also wanted to say we are having our all-school powwow day on February 23rd, where we will have our MC, Ricky White, and our drum group go to all of the schools during the day. And we also have a family yoga event coming up in March. So those are things that we are planning right now. But does anyone have any questions? Everything is going really well. We have really involved parents. We're doing a lot of really good stuff for our students. So.
Any questions for Dara? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, boys soccer coach Matt Stengel.
Hello. My name is Matt Stengel. I'm part of the boys soccer program, and I put in front of you guys today proposal of a boys shed locker. I call it a schlocker. The boys program is proposing this construction of a shed locker on the northwest side of the football field. The purpose of this project is to address ongoing challenges with space, security, accessibility, and player safety. Space is extremely limited both inside the school and around athletic facilities. Over the past several seasons, it has become increasingly difficult to store equipment securely, access it efficiently. Currently, players and coaches often need sometimes multiple keys, must transport equipment between locations just to conduct practices or prepare for games, especially when the turf field is being used. In addition to security and access issues, weather conditions during August and September can be very warm. The shelter near the field is limited. While mandatory water breaks are enforced during when the heat indexes are reached high levels, we believe that provide a dedicated locker and a shelter space would be significant benefit for the health and safety of our players. Below, I sent this out. I don't know if you guys have had to take a chance to look at it, but below is an outline structure and funding and the projected costs of this such thing. The last 2 pages also is a basic standard to what the schlocker or shed locker would look like. And then the last page would be where the facility would sit. So the last page would be, the yellow piece would be where the boys locker would be. And then I also put in there, if a girls side locker, if they choose to want to do anything like this, I would definitely be open for, offering them up anything that we have. If we go ahead with the process, we would offer any much, whatever we can give them.
What, I know you guys You're planning on funding it yourselves, right?
So the plan would be to be basically, we're trying to fund it ourselves.
Okay.
Through fundraising. We did last year, we did a telethon and we raised, it was, I think it was about $10,000.
Okay.
That first go around of it. Right now, the plan would be to do 2 different fundraisers. I've talked to other parents and other players or parents that have done fundraisers for their sports, and one suggestion was a bingo night. Those type of things that can generate this type of money.
Sure.
Too, because when you get into the pizzas, when you get into the smaller stuff, it doesn't add up to what we need.
Sure.
So the 2 things that we are looking at realistically would be the fundraising, so like another telethon, like a bingo to collect, or also I have started to reach out to contractors. I know K&E Construction, I don't know if I can say names, K&E Constructions, they're willing to put up the concrete slab for us, potentially no cost, maybe
Sure.
some costs. It just depends on if we go forward with it, then I can further discussions with these
Do
companies.
you have like a timeline you're looking at as far as to when you have the funding procured to start construction?
We do have $8,000 sitting in the Fund 21 account, and we have been told that we can utilize that money towards it. I think,
Would you start construction before you have all of the funds in place or?
I would hope so.
Okay.
That would be then, again, it'd be a situation on, you know, if we plan to go forward with this, like I said, because I'm trying to get it, I'm trying to get community involvement.
Sure.
And K&E, one of the employees or owners actually played soccer.
Okay.
So this is their way of potentially giving back to the
Okay.
program. So, but I mean, I have a list of
Sure.
contractors that I've just put it in their ear and
Yeah.
said, hey, we're looking at this. What is your outlook on it and how can we see this coming about?
Do you have a target date, like a goal? Like, are you looking to have it in?
I would love to
place?
have it by, are you talking like to have it built?
Yeah.
I would love to have it before the 2026 fall season.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it'd be, once we thawed out, you know, start looking at the slab and then working with the construction and that person to build that
Okay.
out and then going from there.
So Kevin, how does that work as far as like who takes ownership of that building and who maintains
Well,
it? And-
what happens, anything built on your property, it's gonna be your structure. I mean, that's, and no
Okay.
different that, I mean, our insurance would end up covering what we had talked about, and Amanda, Matt, Scott and I, met, I don't know, it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
whatever, would be to bring something to the board for a general concept, okay? And again, then if it is approved, we would work on actual formal agreements, because like I mentioned in the meeting, you know, if someone's gonna do work, we gotta make sure, A, they're covered, you know, and then B, I also want, if there's gonna be, agreements with different groups, to have something in writing, and don't take it the wrong way.
Yep.
None of us might be here a year, 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's like, say, board, myself, coaching staff, whatever. And so that we know, you know, so that would be like the second one then, second like approval. But the idea would be, and again, whether you do something tonight, we put it later on, or, I apologize, I didn't get it till this weekend.
Yeah, I
Didn't get
apologize.
attached till today, so most people probably haven't had time to really look at it and think a whole lot, to come back maybe if you want to push it back to same thing, like 2 weeks from now, to conceptually approve it. But then if it's approved, then we would work on individual agreements, with
Yep.
K&E or whoever might be, as
And-
well as
Yeah.
like it talks about some
And as long
advertising.
as it's privately funded, we don't have to go up for bids then, is that correct?
Correct. I mean, if it's, I mean, again, you hope, like you say, they're doing the best they can. It's, that, no, we don't have to, if someone's donating time and money.
Yep.
Not gonna
Y-
beat that, and, type deal.
The other part about it in the outline too, there is some kind of structure that, Kevin and I had discussed before on how this would look in terms of, I'm gonna say sponsorship or donation. About how these things would be structured and how I would even address it with these companies as well. So
Okay.
like an example would be, again, using the concrete company, it's, the billboard would be up there for 2 years. And then after that, I would say you either, and it kind of goes outline saying, hey, we have the boys soccer team can go sell ad space on that again to utilize towards their, kind of another situation, how to fundraise, we can go sell ad space to another company and utilize that into our Fund 21 account. Or the boosters takes it over. And then they have that set ability too. So
Sure.
in this thing, and I get it, and I fully understand if you need to look over it too, just let me know if you have questions. I mean, I'll let you guys know exactly what I'm thinking. But there is some guidelines in there and how advertising would work or how that would work in terms of, call it trade, you could say as well.
I do want to defer the vote on this, just because I do want to look over.
100%.
Until the next meeting.
Yep.
I don't mind conceptually what's going on here. I do have a couple questions, just to help me think about it. So I'm looking at this back.
Yep.
And you said you talked to Lisa Hanson and how it won't interfere with like the throwing area there for.
Yep.
track. Don't know what the scale is here, but it looks pretty close.
It's pretty close to, I went and mapped it out
Yeah.
this fall because I've had this brainchild for a little bit. So this is pretty accurate to what it would be scaled to in the sizes of the 16 by 32 and how it looks in terms of by the fence line there. And then it's Google Maps, right? So the other side of it is that overhang right there for even on the south side, so where the girls would be, there's room there to build as well if they wanted to.
And have you met with the girls team and?
I've reached out and I talked to Miss Bina a little bit. I said, or she asked like some questions. I said, if you want, I can send you all my information, what I'm putting together, and the source of contacts and how we plan to try build it. That's kind of been as far as we've went with that piece of it. And then also it was mentioned to at the East Grand Forks not boys soccer, but soccer club meeting. I'd mentioned it to Tom there, slightly, but not in full detail.
Cause it seems a little more useful if it were for both.
Yep. The difference I would turn around and say is that's kind of half the reason why we're building it, because we've actually, we share the locker room inside here. And we also don't necessarily have a good space out at the soccer field. We've gotten told that we steal things when we haven't stole a thing.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I'm in, like, the equipment right now is actually sitting at my shop right now because there is no room for us to have both spaces. And when I'm a coach, obviously I don't teach my kids or my players to steal or anything like that. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit here and be accused of something that we're not doing and then find out that it didn't actually happen. And next thing you know, it's saying, here, where is everything? So I would love to have it for boys and girls. If there's like anything else, an agreement in place stating that, you know, we work with each other rather than point the finger at one another. Cause that's the other part of this conversation that
I think
is,
that's a different part of the conversation.
yeah, that's a different part of, yes,
Get in.
yes.
So, okay. Kind of think I want to go out there, to be honest, and kind of look at the space because I don't.
Track and field track, the kids always hang out there, don't they? Isn't
Well,
that
they
what-
do, but I mean, there's a lot of
Mhm.
places they
Yeah.
can hang out, but I'm just a little worried because I know, like, for throwing, I don't want them to be like shuffling over to the,
Mhm.
they need to line up, so, I just want to take a look at it.
100%.
Is everybody okay with deferring that vote till next week or 2 weeks? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Matt. I appreciate you taking the initiative
Yeah,
to come up with this idea and take some action on it.
I guess what I was just gonna say is, if anyone has any questions, I guess what I would ask is, and again, the only reason I ask them to come to me is then I can get everything, out to everyone, every board. I mean, if someone had some, obviously, if you wanna drive back and look or stop, there is some snow back there, but no, I'm just saying, feel free or whatever,
Yeah.
to truck around or whatever, or holler, but I'm just saying, cause if someone thinks of something, Amanda has a question,
It'll be
someone
helpful
else
to
might
solve.
be thinking of the same thing.
yeah,
And so, like I say, just holler and we'll reach out to Matt
Yeah.
and get things as
Yeah.
quick as we can, and then we'll have it on next meeting's agenda.
okay,
So.
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Committee reports, any committee reports? Okay. So 6.0 is a consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on the consent agenda?
The only comment, you have a retirement in there. Thank you to Janet. I think it was 33 years. I didn't write it down. Longtime service, so, thank you for that. Again, just a reminder that, policy 799, again, we talked last time, that's that investment, piece. So I think that's all I have.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any approved or any opposed? Motion carries. 7.0, citizens here to speak. Okay. 8.0 is district business. 8.1 is to approve the 2026-2027 calendar as presented and attached in board book.
Second?
Okay, any questions or discussion?
Give me just one second. What's that? Yeah, that's down.
Oh,
That's below, yeah.
Just a couple things, and I want to make sure everyone's on the same, the calendar committee met. There were actually three, kind of semi proposals. We moved some things around, ended up narrowing down to two. It went to a vote. Again, all staff, had the opportunity. This is what came forth. Now, keep in mind, as far as like conference dates, things like that will yet to come. But the one that was, I'm going to say the largest vote getter, had a little shorter holiday break in December. That allowed for a couple days in April. The thing that's a little bit different, Mr. Lohr has, informed me that it has happened before. But if you look at, graduation is typically the Friday before Labor Day. Okay. The seniors in this really would not get out any early. Some years it's happened, some have not. But what happens is if they actually got out a week early, we're short hours before we even get going. Because there's 3 days this year that they're out early. Well, you can see here, that would be 4 days. We would be under before we started. So I'm just throwing it out there that I see them going, unless you have a problem with that, up to, the end,
To the 28th?
to the 27th. That's the last day for everyone.
And then graduation be the 28th?
Correct. I mean, that last day they would have their practice, stuff like that. But again, we're back to that. I mean, not to say, again, you could change something and have them out earlier, but we have no days, you know what I'm saying? And so, we also down the road, and again, Mr. Lohr can comment, I mean, I guess it's happened before. And so it's not,
Three of you guys up on the board graduated here, and when did you graduate?
19th of May.
Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never graduate the seniors on the 21st and then have the graduation on the 20th.
Right, right.
right.
I mean,
The thing we talked about is having them not have the 26th. But we can accommodate it.
So next year will it roll back to, or the following year will it roll back to having that last week off? Just the way the calendar.
It's always the Friday before holiday is where the graduation is, but it's just a matter of.
where it landed.
They are done.
Where it landed this year. Yeah.
and again, there are some other options as well, and we've thrown a variety of things around, like typically the freshmen start the first day and everyone else comes the second day. Well, there's another day gone.
Mhm.
We talked about, our early outs come off this. And again, I'm advocate for early outs. We could look at, decreasing it by like 15 minutes. That adds a whole nother day then, over the whole year. It's not a lot,
Yeah.
but I mean, somehow we need a little bit of
We need more
buffer.
Wiggle room. Or-
I mean, we're gonna have a winter, whether it's this year or something else down the road, that we burn more than those 5 days.
Do they ever give you like, can we ever go to
Forgiven days.
like?
That's in
forgiveness?
statute, the e-learning days.
Right.
Now again, a few years back, they made some
Yeah.
exceptions when the unfortunate part right now, it's the school's right on this border
Yeah.
that everyone else hasn't had a horrible winter for the most part. You know, that was across where the whole state had a bad winter for the most part, and, you know, there were significantly many, and I don't know if they gave them 8, 10, whatever.
Mhm.
So, but,
We'd
so
like to
anyway,
know
that's, I just wanted to
but-
mention that, you know, that's the way it looks right now.
I mean, it kind of is what it is because it's how the calendar falls. It's the Friday
Correct.
before Memorial. It's just later. Sorry.
Well, and, but again,
Sorry.
They also like, it's nice to give those freshmen that day too, you know, like.
Yeah,
before
it is
something.
nice to give the freshmen that day.
And, oh, that's, yeah, that'll be Lewis. I'll have a freshman.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not for final approval, but this is the.
no, well, this is for final approval.
Final.
What'll happen is then principals, the admin team
Move some
we'll look
things
at,
there.
well, no, we'll look at, you know, when conferences are gonna be, you know, that stuff will come once we know our calendar's set, because for some reason, if you move days around or change something, which you have the right to do, you know, it's a recommendation to the board,
Yeah.
but there's no sense setting conference if you know, if you move dates, this or that, so.
Well,
These usually came as one, like usually it came totally done where they had the conferences and everything was all just.
I mean, I can bring it back to you, but I mean,
No,
for
I
the
mean,
most
it's
part,
okay, I just, it's.
you
just
know, the
different.
2 quarters or the 2 semesters are equal, not each quarter is necessarily the same, both come out at 85 days. So I mean,
yeah, I think people just need to note too, like, we're starting before Labor Day,
correct.
so.
We'll push some info out and I haven't, it sounds like the majority of schools are gonna, you know, I mean,
I
just
would
the
assume.
We have
schools I've
that
talked
option,
to,
yeah.
you know, there may be someone, but the main thing is kind of the, like I say, the start, the end, when the breaks are,
Hmm.
proven, yeah, I mean, by probably next meeting or whatever, won't be too long, we'll have, you know, actual conferences and, you know, things figured out.
How wonky. All right. So we had a motion to approve and a second.
Is that just for the 8.1 or all of district business?
Just say,
No, 8.1.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So all those in favor of approving the calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 is to approve the contract for boiler replacement at South Point for $363,775 with Johnson Controls for the summer of 2026 as presented and attached.
It looks like this, we're being proactive about this, that it's still functional. Is this something, would we want to delay this and see where everything goes with Nexus first before we, like, just to avoid, you know, replacing the boiler, and then if we end up adding onto the building or something and we need to redo the HVAC system, and resize it, is,
the, I don't know if you guys want to, I mean, they have stuff, you know, planned in there. It's no different. It's the same system that's over at New Heights.
Sure.
You know, for the most part, very similar to the same system that's at CMS. You know, it's in the LTFM plan. It's not that those boilers are gonna get ripped out. You know, I guess, you know, and not you know, type, it would be if something's done to that building, we either, you know, again, whether it's you'll see there's several options in here and stuff. There's plenty of stuff to do. You know what I'm saying, as far as money wise, there's more needs than there are gonna be money no matter what happens.
Yeah.
That, you know, this is part of the LTFM that was planned for this year.
okay,
I guess you know, we did have a little bit of a conversation.
So that's its own separate bucket that can only be used for those things.
okay.
It's not general fund money or anything like that.
I
Yeah,
would just hate to replace the boiler, and then if we do end up deciding we wanna add on to that building and have to redo the HVAC system,
you wanna,
okay, you can add on.
Space or did something different as far as what's the reference. We simply.
Okay, sure. It wouldn't be, the boiler wouldn't be worthless at that point if we did have to add it. We could, we, sounds like either way, we would be using this boiler.
Correct.
No matter what we do. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's, I was gonna say, it's very similar to, like I say, the proposal. There's a minor increase. It's the same, exact same format. The electrical and roofing is not part of that right now. That'll come, we'll get prices assuming it's approved from local contractors, and that'll come same as was done next door here. It's a good question.
Do we get a motion?
No.
Okay, I'll move. Any seconds?
A second.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the contract for boiler replacement, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.3 is to approve missed abatement of property taxes for 1208 23rd Street Northwest, East Grand Forks for the tax year of 2024 in the amount of $129.28, which is the school district portion. It is presented and attached in board book. So I've never seen this happen, but I have.
No,
read
what
it.
happens is you do it once a year.
Yeah,
And this one got missed.
Okay.
And so they've requested, and again, I requested it from the city. And again, I don't know how many years this has been in place, but it's for new construction. They get a 2-year tax break from city, county, and school. Again, it's been in place for a certain amount of time. So we do approve once a year. This one accidentally got missed. And so they've asked all 3 entities to approve so they can do it. So,
just a blessing, like.
well, I mean, I suppose if you said no, it doesn't go through, but
right.
I mean, like I said, my understanding is once a year the district's done this, and, I don't know who negotiated or whatever, but it's trying to get construction in the city,
Okay,
you know.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Go ahead, Matt.
Matt. Okay. Any questions or discussion on this? Further discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're skipping. So 8.4 is now to accept the donations to the school district.
I'll pull those up. Okay, give me a second. I would like to make a motion to approve the following donations. A donation from Steve Gander to the district for social work for clothes for kids in the amount of $1,000. A donation from the East Grand Forks Music Boosters to South Point Music for stage lighting in the amount of $3,092.93. A donation from East Grand Forks Education Foundations to New Heights for general education, the amount of $3,150. Total donations today, $6,242.23.
Second. Any questions or discussion on donations? Okay, all those in favor of approving the donation, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 is payment of claims and accounts.
Oh, hang on, can you do 8.6?
8.6. So it must be
Oh,
8.
my bad.
Anyway,
I skipped one. I got off because I skipped that other one.
Sorry.
Okay. 8.6, now known as 8.5, is to approve the resolution proclaiming February 18th, 2026 as School Bus Driver Appreciation Day, as presented and attached.
So moved. I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
Just so you're aware, this came from like the Bus Driving Association. It's a nice gesture. Obviously, we appreciate what the drivers do. And so, maybe you've seen this before, maybe haven't. They asked for it, so.
Sure. It's a resolution. Do we have to take a?
Just as approved, just.
Okay. Any questions or discussion further? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're gonna pay the bills.
I'll make the motion to approve the payment of K-12 bills 131039 through 131143 and the electronic fund transfers in the amount of $3,339,576.37.
A second.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 10.0, board member comments. We're gonna start with Easton.
All right, my segment's pretty short, today. I'm just gonna say that winter sports are wrapping up. It's getting to tournament season in the next month or so. And this week we're hosting Soul Ensemble for choir on Wednesday, so that should be fun. And good luck to all our sports, and spring sports will be coming soon.
In spring play. Good. Okay. Matt,
I just want to say thanks to everybody that came and presented tonight, Matt and Andrew and Dara and Nexus and everybody. So thank you.
No comments tonight.
I don't have anything tonight.
okay. I don't have any either. I do appreciate everybody coming and presenting. It was, yeah,
Busy,
informative.
busy meeting.
Okay, 11.0. The next meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for February 23rd, 2026 at 5:30 in this very room. Now 12.0 is our Nexus presentation, so. For
We
those,
don't
who-
actually adjourn then? We just
Nope.
keep going? Okay.
We'll just do it. I mean, if anyone doesn't want to stay.
Anybody
nothing
doesn't- yeah.
Personal against Nexus, no, not
Yeah.
everyone has to.
want to stay and listen to
You're up.
Nexus. Just take care of our business and then we'll go into this. Okay. Did you want me to take a break?
No, it's
Okay.
okay. I was get water, but that's okay. Okay.
So Kevin, if it's okay, we'll step through the survey.
Yeah, you can do it however you want to proceed.
Do you think that you could introduce Hans?
I will.
Okay.
Our microphone's good? Okay.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board. So to my left is Hans Knoll. He is my technical left hand. He's to my left. And responsible ultimately for the report that we'll be covering tonight. He's on point for leading our architects, our engineers, everybody else that's been on site to study your facilities, everything from the grass tops to the rooftops, and the thousands of hours that went into this book and everything that's behind it. And this book is just, basically it's a representative of probably thousands of pages behind it that we'll be covering tonight. And Hans is the person who's basically on point to make sure that it's delivered as what he's showing you tonight. So did I miss anything, Hans? Well said. Thank you. And so when we visited, it's been months, long time ago. And one of the things that I promised you all as a board and promised your community was that we would, at this point, start engaging your community. And you as a board have been very kind in sharing, as is Kevin and his team, sharing people in your community who are well regarded, who are at minimum neutral on the school district and who are willing to participate in community conversations. I've been fortunate enough to have several of those conversations, and we're looking forward to, as you'll see here momentarily, when I share with you our timeline, we'll start that community engagement process and having meetings to talk about the plan, to talk about your operational situation, to talk about the vision for your school district, and to look from them on what their thoughts are on what the priority is, on how to proceed, tax tolerance, a variety of other things. But that community task force is only going to reach so many people. And so what you have in front of you is this survey. It's a 4-page front and back, 8 pages total, survey that's been generated by a third party, a company by the name of School Perceptions, that we have worked with for years and years and years. They are a company that goes out of their way to ask specific enough questions so that we can get to the granularity needed to help everybody make good decisions. And so what I'd like to do is just step through the survey and then ask everybody for whatever input you might have. The intent is for this to go to the printers next week, if I remember correctly, and ultimately go to every residential mailbox in your school district. And then the survey ending then on March 23rd. And so with that, unless there's any questions to start, I'd ask you to go to the very back page. This is essentially just the mailing panel. This is what everybody will see. It'll be folded in half. And then as they open it, go to the very front, you'll see a nice letter from the school board and your superintendent. Just talking about what we're facing as it relates to facilities, what we're facing as it relates to funding. And then it talks a little bit about 2 ways of taking this survey. People can take this online or they can take it hard copy. And again, these will go hard copy to every residential mailbox in your community. Now, many times I get questions about, well, you know, can the same person take the survey multiple times? And the short answer is no. There is a fingerprint or a code that every single copy will get that is unique. And so if you're online, you'll have a unique identifier. If you get it in the mail, you'll have a unique identifier. If you want in a household, more than one person wants to take the survey, participate, they also will have a unique code. So we don't want the same person taking it more than once. And so, and at the very end, of course, you'll see the board as well as your superintendent. If we flip to page 2, we ask some general questions as it relates to demographics and just how is the school district performing in your mind. The reason that we ask this top section of questions is simply to see, do we have any blind spots? Are there things that we think we're really proficient at, but in fact, maybe the public doesn't think so? And so these questions will help, especially as we get into the conversation with the community task force. Really, how are things going? And if the survey provides something different, then we'll be able to ask the task force for some more input. Let's see here. And then the bottom half talks a little bit about demographics. Some of the important things here. Do you own agricultural land that's currently taxed that way? Commercial land, do you own? And because of how it's taxed. That information is important because they get taxed differently than many of the other folks in our community. Later in this survey, what you'll see is something called the Ag to School Tax Credit. The farmers in your community that I've talked to, not very many are aware that this Ag to School Tax Credit exists. What is it? Ag to School Tax Credit on any, in the state of Minnesota, any funding that is paid for through bonds, the state will cover 70% of, with the exception of 1 acre of land, their home, and 1 outbuilding, like a garage or what have you. But the rest of it, if it's impacted by this agriculture zoned property tax, the state covers 70% of it. Okay. All right, as far as which municipality do you live in, that's important because ultimately we're going to want to know who's participating and generally how are they feeling? Where do we as Nexus and ultimately the people that will be investing in these discussions in these communities, where do we really need to spend time? Are you an employee of the district? Do you have children attending school in the district? These are also important. Why? Because ultimately, on average, 70% of your community doesn't have kids going to your school district, nor are they employed by the school district. And so those people who do vote, we want to make sure that we understand where they're coming from. If they're only real tethered to your school district is their property tax bill. We want to know how they're feeling and what ultimately is their priority surrounding supporting the school district. Okay. All right. Now on to page 3. Financial background just provides a little bit of a definition, if you will, on what bonds are used for and what levies are used for. Many people think that bond money can be used to pay salaries, but in fact, it can only be used for capital purposes like maintenance or additions or roofing, things along those lines. Those dollars cannot be intermixed legally. And for a lot of people in every community throughout the country, they need to understand the difference. So we provide those definitions. We have a little tax table here. And as I'm looking at this, it's a little small, or maybe I'm just not wearing my cheaters. But the graph, you'll see as far as the property taxes, area comparison, you'll see East Grand Forks second to the bottom. Okay. Then we get into the actual projects. What we're looking for with each of these projects is how important are these as far as priority. So we provide a little bit of a definition. You'll see with the early childhood edition, put a little bit more time, provide a little more verbiage than we did with the other ones, just because of how important it is to the school district. We flip it over into, I believe it's page 4. We talk about the additional projects. And so each of these buckets, we provide a little bit of a definition. We share with them what the overall total budget is. And then we ask them, is this high priority, medium priority, or low priority? And so however they feel about this, they'll ultimately judge. And then when we get the results, we'll see what weight does your community put on it in aggregate on each of these. So HVAC and plumbing, electrical, safety and security, exterior site maintenance, a new bus garage and maintenance building. Because I think everybody here is aware that the bus barn we have now was basically a classroom with the flood.
It was, yeah.
And so there's some challenges over there. This next page, talk about special education, career tech ed, and then just updating classrooms and support spaces. When you have some time, I'd encourage you to read through it. But ultimately, these are the key buckets that were identified as part of our study work that we'll be covering here in just a second. You'll see at the bottom of this page and some of the other pages, there's a space for comments, suggestions, questions. What we'll be able to do, instead of just giving you hundreds of pages of just random comments, we'll be able to determine which comments happen more frequently and provide common themes so that we know, generally speaking, where the macro voices of your public. We'll be able to present that to you.
Like a word cloud.
Yes, a word cloud, exactly. Let's see here. So I think we're on this funding support page. Okay. And so this gets into what the overall project is, talks a little bit about the Ag to School tax credit, and then it shares with every person taking it a general table on tax impact. Okay. And then on the very bottom, this is where we test for tax tolerance. I would support 74.2 million. I would support 60, 45, so on. And this will tell us, generally speaking, where we have that support. When we deliver the report, ultimately, it summarizes the results of this. You'll see how ultimately we're able to determine where that tax tolerance is. Okay. All right, page 7, levy funding. This talks a bit about that operational need. In talking to Kevin, and I understand he and Carla got together and talked about where they were at, operationally speaking. We are looking at testing $500,000 or roughly $250 per pupil for additional operational. Now, you are one of a very few districts in the state that does not have an operational levy. Currently, you've been running on making do with what you've got. And this is going to help us determine what is the willingness of the public to provide support. And so we'll see ultimately where this lands. And then comments, suggestions on the below as well. And so the key thing about this is you read through it, the levy funding with the check marks is the narrative. Ultimately, we're talking about all this wonderful capital, the needs of your schools. The blessing you had after the flood was that you were essentially given 3 schools. The challenge you have is that you have 3 schools that are aging at the exact same time. And so there's a need there. Plus education has changed. And the levy, getting back to the narrative, talks about how we can build it, but ultimately, once we have it built, we need to be able to fund it so that we can have teachers, we can have curriculum, we can do those things. And we're looking for potentially their support in that area as well. So with that, what questions do you have?
I love this. Maybe that's extreme, but I really do. I think it explains it very, very well. Like even like explaining the bonds and the levies and like the difference between the two, like for the community and, you know, laying out exactly what they would pay for each. I really, really like this.
The other thing, just so, you know, as time goes on and it goes out and people have questions, even though, you know, they have a unique identifier, it's 100% private.
Right.
You know, people, I'm just gonna use myself, say my wife and I both wanted to fill one out, that there's a contact so they can get another code either from the school or get another paper copy. There's a process to do that. It's just so that, again, myself is not, going on and voting 20 times or whatever. So, Nexus and school
Perceptions.
perception, sorry, they'll provide a report and it'll all come to the board. But I mean, that's the piece that we want people to respond.
Yeah.
And so when it does go out, we'll try and do a somewhat of a campaign to please, fill it out. Doesn't take a huge amount of time, get it put in. Again, I don't know how many families, actually do, multiple or not. Yeah, I don't remember from my other
Yeah,
experience.
it varies.
Yeah,
varies.
but I just wanted that out there that it is private, even though it has a unique identifier, that's just to make sure someone's not, voting a whole bunch of times.
And to build on that just quickly, Kevin was kind enough during some of our meetings on this to share with us that you guys, you have a part of your population that speaks Spanish, you have a part of your population that speaks Somali. So this will be, if a person in your community so chooses to take it in another language, specifically Spanish and Somali, they'll have that opportunity.
One question kind of do with the survey or not, but like, so for the property tax part, for the bond, is that an increase on each or what your estimated would be for the totals?
So this is the table, what the table shows is what the increase would be.
Because yeah, the other one says for the levy, it says estimated tax increase. But the bond referendum does not say estimated increase. It just says tax impact. So that's why I was wondering.
Note they would both be,
They would both be increases too?
This
Yeah.
table is just for the levy though, right?
Correct.
there's two tables, one.
The levy and this.
Yeah.
So on page 7, the one just on the other side of the back page, that is the levy.
Yeah.
And then this other table with the colored pie chart, that is for the capital. Good question. Thank you. So again, the intent is, we're gonna go through it one more time and then, basically send it to the printers and get it to the public so we can start collecting feedback.
How long will people have to respond?
So the last day, is March 23rd. So that we'll get this out, we'll see printers. I would envision this being in everybody's homes. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's by the end of the first week of March. So they'll basically have 2 weeks-ish, 2.5 weeks to take it.
In the other piece, just so the kind of board understands, and again, after this survey and it comes back, and I'm just picking a number, say they would support whatever it is, 30 million, 40 million, 20 million, whatever. Nexus and Schools Perceptions has a very high track record. If you take what the community says, it still takes, things will work. I mean, if the community says they'll support 20 million and go for 70, it's probably not going to work. And so that's where then, between, the board admin and this, community group, that's where the tough stuff really comes then when again, Hans will go through a really nice product here, but the reality, even like the survey says, we're not going to get everything. And so then when you figure out what, we may ask for, it's figuring out then what are the highest priorities. And again, it'll come, somewhat in here. Certain things will pop, and then that's where we're gonna have to make some tough decisions,
Who's pushing the survey out? Is it the school or Nexus or both?
the,
School perceptions.
they,
Well,
Vendor.
there's yeah,
Gotcha.
and so there's a mail house that ultimately, they've collected the addresses within the community. But there'll also be emails to staff and to parents that will come from the district asking people to participate. So there's a couple different ways.
Okay.
Good, Jim?
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the survey. Let's get into this report. Everybody, you have in front of you this wonderful, colorful, lots of detail information. You don't have to read through it tonight. So that's the blessing. What we're hoping though is we're going to step through a presentation that will cover the highlights. If you don't mind, though, over the next couple weeks, go through it. If you have questions, let Kevin know. Kevin will let us know, and then we'll provide whatever feedback you'd like between, at that point. Okay. All right. And then we'll get more into this in a little bit, but presentation, everybody, thank you very much again. Kevin and I started talking a year ago. Can you believe it's been a year? And then we were fortunate enough, Nexus was to be selected back in June. And here we are tonight delivering our final report to you. So just a quick commercial on Nexus. Ultimately, we have roughly 80 people who focus on school design, construction management, back office, of course, and client engagement. We only focus on school districts. That's all we do. Wisconsin, Minnesota, getting into North Dakota, Illinois. And with that, we've had just a ton of success talking about that single point of accountability, but also making sure that we're delivering what the community is asking for basically at a tax impact that they're willing to support. Okay. All right, little map. And again, International Falls is up there, so we had to do the arrow, and you guys are in the upper left, so arrow. But ultimately, a list of our clients, and this actually doesn't even include everybody that we're currently talking to. The large X's, teardrop, upside down icons, those are where our offices are. Again, single source of accountability. From the very first time we talked, what we're hoping for is to alleviate any finger pointing. And so as we continue to work through this process, finding, again, where your public will support, both from a project standpoint, their list of priorities, as well as tax impact, look for local contractors to help do the work, provide a design that everybody will want to bid. And that's really where we shine. We ultimately have more people wanting to participate in our projects than many of our competitions, solely because that we have such detail behind what we do. And the quality makes it easy for contractors to bid, especially when they're busy January, February, March, generally speaking. Staff input. It has been absolutely fantastic talking to your staff. I've been here for 2 in-service days. And that first in-service day, people were looking at me like, okay, what does he want? Why he's talking. But at the end of the conversation, it was really more about them. It was, if money were no object, what would you do? And they broke into, if you were in your building and you were first grade, they got together, or second grade, or if you were at the middle school, the high school, those folks got together, leadership got together, and they worked through this exercise, and the result was absolutely fantastic. I'll also share with you when I came back and delivered the results of that work. And everybody here who's in leadership, my takeaway was they were appreciative that we came and listened. And my commitment to your staff is that once we have a project that's generally dialed in to some degree, I hope to come back and show them this is what you said was important to you. And ultimately, this is what's now included in the project. So you have that tether. Because your teachers, and Kevin, not to put you on the spot, how many teachers, staff do you think live in district approximately?
Live in district? You're asking the wrong person. I haven't
Yeah.
been here that long. I'm guessing 70%. There's definitely people on the Grand Forks side. There's definitely a few people, outside the district.
70's probably a good guess.
say 70 too.
Yeah. And so the neat thing about 70 is that you have so many people when they go have their bonfires or they go have dinner, you have other community members going to them because they know them and they say, I've heard about this stuff at the school. Do you think it's worth supporting? And if the teachers feel heard, they're more likely to say, yeah, and this is how I was engaged in this process. And so it just makes it a more community feel that everybody's been heard and everybody's been participating. And so here, with this engagement exercise, we talked about educational use. Does your space help? or does it hinder how you educate your kids? What would make you become more proficient in how you educate your kids? And it wasn't somebody hovering over them saying, well, you got to answer. It was the teachers talking amongst themselves. What would we do? How would we better serve our students? And teachers are honestly absolutely fantastic. They're used to doing more with less, and they're used to collaborating as much as they possibly can to do the best they can for kids. You know, somebody once told me you don't get into education to be wealthy. They get into to improve the lives of our kids and help them become the best versions of themselves. And so we also talked about flexibility. I can't read that. Sorry, I don't like cheater on. Yeah, flexibility, thank you. Flexibility, comfort. You know, and then, you know, ultimately what would help us from a educational delivery standpoint with, you know, being intentional with our design. Is safety and security an issue for you in your building? Special education spaces, as we talked very early on, you have a very high special education population. And since 2000, because I understand that your population was bigger once upon a time prior to 2000, but since 2000, you've continued to grow. Fair?
Yeah.
And not only have you grown with your standard population, your special education population is also very, very high. And so how do we go about accommodating all of our teachers and all of the programming and how everything is different now with the space that you have? One of the promises that we made very early on was to maximize the value of every existing square foot that you have, every existing square foot before we talked about additions. And I believe we've done that. So, and with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Knoll.
Yeah, as Rob said, again, my name's Hans. I've kind of quarterbacked all our subject matter experts. We probably had 24 different folks looking at everything from mechanical to IT stuff to HVAC, roofs to asphalt. It took several months, and now the culmination of that is a report. I'm going to go through some high level here, but this can be interactive. Certainly interrupt me and let me know if we have any questions. I want to start by really focusing on the infrastructure needs. You know, we talked a little bit about what we call the educational adequacy and remodels, additions, major remodels to the building. This is really, if you do nothing to the building, what needs to be done from an infrastructure, from systems perspective, and we kind of break those out into 5 areas and through each of the buildings. So we'll start at the high school. HVAC updates here, quite a bit was done in the 2017. There's still a number of air handling units and RTUs. Air handling units are AHUs, rooftop units, RTUs that need to be replaced. There's still pneumatic controls in this building, so we look to get those updated. Again, electrical was highly upgraded at that time. That said, there's still some stuff from pre-1985 in the building. Usually electrical systems are 35 to 40-year age. So anything older than 40, 45 years, we'd like to get it replaced. You can see a picture up in the upper right there, or upper left, excuse me. Low voltage systems. These are more technology-based systems. We all know that, you know, typically your computers and phones don't last more than 5 years. Well, these are highly dependent on technology. So we've got fire alarm systems, phone systems in this building. Frankly, throughout the district, PA systems are all long in the tooth. This building has a kind of hybrid digital analog system. The other buildings have an analog system. So we'd look to go to an IP-based system. That's a modern system so that you get a lot of different functions there. Fire alarm system, we've got an older fire alarm system in the areas that were not touched in this building as part of the 2017 upgrade. You've got the newer system in 2017. We'd like to bring the older areas up because that fire alarm system's going on 20 plus years old. Same with the PA system. Exterior facade. Generally, this building and all the buildings are in pretty good shape from a exterior facade perspective. You've invested in the roofs throughout all the buildings. Need for just general TLC, window sealants, expansion joints redo, tuck pointing, you can see a little bit of cracking in that lower right picture there. And then track, tennis court, resurfacing. There's a picture here that if you're not familiar with the track it has some cracks in it that's been repaired successfully, but it's to the point where that track needs to get replaced. Again, interior finishes at this building, pretty minimal. A lot of the building was updated. You've got nice newer spaces, couple specific areas in the kitchen that Terrazzo's due for a deep cleaning there. And then ADA hardware, there's still some spots where you've got the handle, the lever hardware. You've got incorrect or non-ADA compliant handrails in the staircases. So pretty minimal at the high school. Any questions on the high school? Central middle, now you're gonna hear some repeats because the middle school and 2 elementary schools were all built about the same time, so they have about the same aging systems. You've got heat pumps over there. I believe you're aware some of them are starting to fail, and the building's about 25, probably closer to 30 years old now. So this is the time when those units are gonna start to fail, and you're gonna be replacing them on an emergency basis. When you look in the book, we've got the option to either replace them 1 for 1 and keep that system, or go to a traditional overhead air system with a central plant. Again, this is the time to think about this. Replace this equipment that's, call it 28 years old, in a planned replacement. It'll be less expensive when we can put it all on drawings, get it bid out, rather than doing an emergency replacement function when you're just getting ABC contractor off the streets in emergency. Number 2, we want to eliminate the interruption to the school day, right? That causes the teachers a lot of heartburn when equipment's failing, boilers are failing, whatnot, and you're replacing the boilers, so you are being proactive there. From electrical perspective, the electrical's in good shape there. Need for LED lighting, need for some added power in the form of receptacles, outlets throughout those buildings. There's more power being used in the classroom today than there was 20 years ago when this was designed. Same spiel on the low voltage systems. That fire alarm, phones, and PA systems are original to that building. The PA system's pretty important. It's not functioning well, it's not being heard well. I mean, the speakers aren't in good shape, or the wiring's not in good shape. We want, when there's all calls done or when there's proper zoning, we want the staff and students to hear that. Same thing here from an exterior facade upgrade. It's a lot of TLC on the building, what you'd expect of a building this age. This is the time to start repairing, doing some of that tuck pointing. At this building, there's tennis courts. I kind of lump that sportsplex into here. The tennis courts are in need of resurfacing. And then again, some minor flooring replacements. Generally, the interior finishes there at these next 3 buildings, I would say probably don't need to be done. They're not immediate needs, let's put it that way. Probably in the next 5 to 10 years, we need to start considering looking at new ceilings, new flooring. As long as it's being taken care of, you should be good. There is a line item in the report about replacing those gym bleachers. They're starting to get to be a maintenance issue. But again, I'm not sure if that's a heavy, high priority item. Any questions here? From a pictures perspective, we got just a picture of their traditional heat pump. That's a dust collector on the woods area at the high school, or at the middle school, excuse me, that needs to be replaced. And then picture your phone and your fire alarm system. These are the same thing at South Point, really the same bullet points. We've got some additional ADA ramps where the concrete panels are starting to split or heave that need to be addressed. From a picture perspective, again, trying to get a little bit of variety in here. Those are some of the air handling units that are 25 years old or plus years that should be considered for either replacement or refurbishment. That lower picture, there's a couple classrooms, 6 in each of both elementary schools, that have the folding or the accordion wall. And originally, when those were designed, a lot of the intent is to do some co-teaching, open up the doors. They're not really used. So what they end up being is they don't have power in them, or they don't have enough power in them, data in them to be used. And there's just a sound issue. So the teachers have requested, hey, let's put a rigid system up here, so we're not hearing noise from the adjoining classroom.
When you say rigid, you're talking about like a real wall?
Yeah, exactly. Either a dry wall or a CMU wall. Same, I'm gonna kind of rip through the same things at New Heights. Again, this picture you can see, I talked about the seals on the window on that lower, call it left picture. That's you can't really see it, but the gaskets start to shrink. Again, that's typical of a 25+ year classroom or a window. The upper, you can see your downspouts have left a stain on some of those walls. So again, that's part of that TLC. I said we would go through and do some tuck pointing where it needs to be done. In this case, we'd acid wash that really good. And make sure that looks good and that mortar isn't being eroded anymore. And then where my little arrow's at again is the older PA system and phone system. Bus garage, this is one we talked about. The HVAC there is really non-existent. There is not enough heat in there. So we'd look to add heat. There's not proper amount of exhaust or makeup air. This first bullet, the carbon monoxide and nitrous dioxide detectors, you don't have that control system in there right now. We're building a new bus garage. Frankly, if in the automotive, even a tech at automotive should have that sensing in there so that you develop those gases, automatically kicks on the exhaust, automatically kicks on a makeup air system. That's not in this building right now, so that's a heavy need. Electrical, you've got one older panel in there. I've got a picture in there. The fire alarm panel is very old. I question if it's working. The biggest thing there is because this wasn't originally a bus garage, there's not proper floor drains in there. So the water doesn't doesn't flow out of there right. If you go through, you can see a lot of surface rusting on that, on the cold form sheet metal, both the skin, some of the framing around the doors are starting to rust. Hasn't affected the structure yet that we can see, but this is the first signs that it will eventually if we don't get it cleaned up. So we've got a line in here to clean up, basically reskin the building, get that rusted sheet metal out of there. But in that time, we'd probably do some surface grinding of any structural columns that are exposed, get them painted up. But that's going to continue to be something that's going to have to be addressed and only get worse if it's not addressed soon. The last building here is the senior center, ASEC building. Again, those boilers, you can see a picture of that boiler. That's we didn't get a date off it, but it looks like it's 40 to 50 years old. Seems to be running okay, but it's something to be aware of. Electrical, you've got a picture of the electrical panel up there. Again, that's definitely 40+ years old. So we've got needs for HVAC upgrades, electrical upgrades. Again, the fire alarm. This building, if you're not familiar with it, it does have some it looks pretty bad from the outside. We had a structural engineer look at it. They said that it's got good bones. It's got a wood frame truss system for the roof. And the structure itself, it's got good bones, but really needs a lot of money to tuck point all the mortar around the building. We would either strip that paint off and repaint it, or we'd clad over it. Like the front side has been clad and it looks really good. Roof is in need of replacement in the next probably 5 to 10 years. When that is done to meet modern snow load and to meet energy code, we'd have to add insulation at our value, add some structure. That's what that could get a little bit pricey because we've got to beef up the structure and account for, again, the added snow load requirement and that the insulation requirement. So that's something to consider. And we've got that included. Again, when you get a chance to look at this, I've pulled up about 5 bullets here and a couple sub bullets, but each building's got about 40 discrete line items for consideration. So if I've kind of gone through this quickly, I want to hit these are the high level items, but there's a lot of detail in that book when you get a chance to look at it.
Yeah. And with the public isn't going to support doing every single thing. They're not. The nice thing about having your 10-year plan, especially as we continue to work together, if I'm fortunate enough to do so, is when we build out our LTFM plans, we'll have a better snapshot of the real granularity of where we should focus our time. But taking a step back, when we were together May, June, we spent a lot of time talking about the benefits of focusing on projects through with economies of scale in mind. And because we're looking at potentially all of your HVAC in the middle school, the 2 elementary schools, some of it here, we'll be able to attract larger contractors will be interested in doing more, who will provide a more competitive bid because of the size of the project. That will be a direct benefit to your taxpayers. You all just approved tonight this boiler work, which is certainly a need. But as we talk about doing more, ultimately you'll realize better pricing. And at the same time, when we're taking HVAC down out of the ceiling and out of mechanical rooms and what have you, that will provide much better and easier access for your fire system, for your speaker system, for any kind of other IT access, because frankly, more than likely this drop tile ceiling will have to come down. And so all of this, by doing it in mass, will provide a much better result for you all versus trying to make stuff fit, and it'll be better for your taxpayers. So we're excited, but also keep in mind, being realistic, we know your public won't support everything. That's where all of this engagement is going to really help.
And not only, I talked last 10 minutes about the infrastructure needs. Now we'll talk about the educational adequacy and what is educational adequacy. We're in conjunction with Rob interviewing the staff. My team also had a chance to talk to your teachers, some of your administrative directors, and really understand what those highlight those pain points on what allows them to succeed with the curriculum, and again, where those hindrances are. So we think we've picked that up. We've had multiple meetings with principals and vice principals to go through these. Some of that interaction that Rob talked about, obviously, there's a lot of interaction with potential remodels and these infrastructure upgrades. So so we want to make sure we get those economies of scale. This building, Senior High Center, one item that we looked at, I guess we'll start with the upper left corner. That is the northeast corner, the Tech Ed building. In yellow, we're looking at potential addition there. The idea here is both the woods and the metals area are pretty tight, right? We want to expand. We want to promote that Tech Ed curriculum. We could do a couple things here. Number one, we could make this a traditional ag classroom. And with conjunction, we could there's room back there to put a greenhouse. Another thing we've seen a lot of your counterpart school districts doing and really focus on construction. What that would mean is potentially moving some of that metals and autos out in this new area. The area between the metals and the woods then becomes a construction lab, doing some larger building sheds, doing larger projects, not kind of the minor traditional Tech Ed woods work. Sheds, trailers where you can kind of get into welding and the automotive into it. And I'm going to show some pictures later of what that area would potentially look like. But also at that time then adding garage doors between those spaces so you can get some good connectivity, adding some storage areas. So I think that team is really excited about the potential for that. As we move over to the right side, upper corner, there's a need in the building for some additional offices and collaboration spaces. We take a little bit out of the staff lounge and add kind of a office suite for some of the curriculum teachers there. Kind of rotating down around to the north of the LMC, there is the business lab. This business lab, if you go in there, the way it's set up, you've got students that have their backs to the teachers because there's the casework is around the perimeter, right? Just not working well. The casework's on the perimeter because that's where the power and the data is to run the computers. So we look to rethink that, provide some mobile tables like we have here, so that classroom is more flexible. Add either power from below or from above, and new computers, so that we can really get all those teachers or all those students facing forward to the teacher and have a much more productive teaching area. In the library, kind of on the south side of the library, you can see, I don't know if I zoom in of it, the green area, again, looking for some additional breakout area. Now that doesn't mean they're not monitored. We're trying to get a lot of glass so that students in the libraries, there's less bookshelves, more collaborative teaching, more collaborative learning, more project-based learning, having some breakout areas where students are able to go one-on-one or groups of 6, still be monitored from the staff in the library, but work on those project-based learning areas. So really excited about that. And then kind of in the lower area in the middle, I think I've got to zoom in on that one. Here we go. That's not gonna help. On the right side, you've got special education, a couple normal, traditional classrooms. And what you've got in there is 2 or 3 teachers, 6 to 10 students, and it ends up being a lot of distraction. That staff has asked, hey, can we have breakout, pull-out areas so we can take dysregulated kids or kids that just need to be able to focus on one-on-one or two-on-one into these classrooms. So you can see those three boxes, traditional classrooms, giving them some more breakout spaces, giving the teachers some options of some focused learning and focused teaching. And then you've made a great investment in the life skills area, but that was really only half of it. The back half is still a little discombobulated, and work with the special ed teachers to understand, you know, what that optimal layout is. And that's an additional classroom, additional bathroom, couple additional offices, and some breakout areas. So really excited about presenting that to the team here.
Well, just quickly with regards to really all the interactions that we had with all of your building principals and everyone was kind enough to allow us to spend the level of depth that they went in really wanting to talk about how they would use each space and how they could find operational efficiency like special education. You know, working with Brian with the CTE area, the conversation was, let's not necessarily build for a specific teacher, let's create flexibility. And so that as curriculum changes or who we have as a teacher changes, we have that ability. And so really just kudos to everybody that participated, Brian, Matt, Sarah, everybody else that was.
Any questions, comments on some of those proposed remodels, additions at the senior high?
Just one comment I have is that we do have a new metals woods teacher. I don't know if you had a chance to reach out to him. I know it's really late in the game, but
Yeah.
just to note that there's somebody new there.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to talk to him.
He's very new.
Yeah.
And the other piece, just to, you know, again, these are ideas, concepts, obviously a lot of time and effort put in, you know, as we go forward and assuming something takes, you know, flight or takes off. There's still a lot more, you know, this is not a final by any means, you know, I mean, it's kind of the general concept, you know, and is that a fair way to say it? That, you know, if something ends up happening in this form or at any of the buildings, again, everything is in here. Okay, you know, that there's still some room for adjusting if, you know, new ideas come around or, you know, switching or whatever.
Yeah, we're at the schematic design SD level, so we're allowed to develop budgets with reasonable high level confidence. If we're fortunate to get approved money, we get together our whole design team and we have user groups and design groups, and we really sketch out where the doors are going to be, what casework is. Sometimes it may not look much like this. I mean, you know, we develop this now, money isn't available for another year. There might be some other folks and new needs arise, but we know we need to stick within that budget. So that's a little bit of this exercise right now.
Yeah, I just kind of meant late in the game of
Yep.
the schematic design portion of it, but yeah.
At the middle school, the biggest priority there is getting a secure main entrance sequence. Now, you have a secure entrance in that you've got a buzzer and a camera. People aren't just coming and going. But what we want to do is get similar to the high school. If you're familiar with it, we want to be able that those visitors come in, funnel them right into a main office where they're greeted. And the receptionist, secretary, staff can then determine, hey, does this person need to go into the building, or can we call the student down? Can we call the teacher down? So we don't have people walking around, or we're not using resources to escort folks around. So the exercise here was to move that main office, which is in the center of the building, to an exterior wall near the existing entrance vestibule. And here you can see it. Zoom in here. Here you can see it in yellow, basically taking 2 of the classrooms, turning that into a main office. What we then do in the core is turn that into some conference room, some staff area, and then what we're calling is student support area, which would house psychiatrists, counselors, behavior specialists, social workers. So really have a nice home base students can come and feel comfortable, have a confidential space to go and see those folks. So we're excited about that. That's that area in yellow that we got highlighted. Does that- Absolutely.
That's a great idea.
That is a good idea. So I'm like, I didn't bring my readers either.
Yeah. We're looking at, again, secure entrance there. In each of the pods, if you're not aware, when this building was originally built, there's 6 science labs. Middle school science doesn't need 6 labs. Matt's still here. He's not using those labs. I mean, they've got the full perimeter casework. So the intent is really to update those rooms, modernize them. They're being used now as each pod has a science room, but they don't need the extent of lab there. They've got a lab and a teaching space. It's underutilized. So we'd look to refresh that, put a modern middle school type classroom lab in one of the 6 built rooms. The other room then, which is being used for a general classroom, general education classroom, again, get that casework out of here. You can see picture in the lower level, that extra casework, sinks, just right now isn't being used by the staff, so we can get better utilization there. The other thing on this layout is, and this is this is definitely a unique building in that the way the group bathrooms are laid out in each building, we could feasibly go to a family style bathrooms layout. So what that means is gutting out the boys and the girls bathroom, going to your traditional unisex stall, and then opening it up so that you've got a communal hand washing area. And the thought here is, and we hear this, all the school districts work out, the most issues that come up, particularly at middle school and high school, happen in the bathrooms, right? Because students feel emboldened to go in there and they got no eyes on them. With this setup, you can have staff not hovering over them, but sitting outside and really understand that one person goes in the bathroom, you do your business, you come out, you wash your hands, and you move on. This isn't a place to hang out and play around. So it worked well. This building is unique, that this is something that might want to consider here, if the funds allow.
The 7 science classrooms, can you talk a little bit about how they're being used?
Well, for example, Rob Writer's workshop. And so rather than having space for bookshelves or anything like that, or a whiteboard, it's same thing. And so I don't know exactly what East Grand Forks was when that building was built. The history that I got is that maybe there were more students before the flood, not everyone's returned since, kind of thing. But we do have 3 classrooms that are science rooms, 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 1 for 8, and then the other 3 are just being used as other normal classrooms, and it works. It's just not the most set.
I'm just curious as why 6 science labs were ever built.
Right.
But whatever.
Rationale was that they were going to have a classroom and then a separate lab space.
Oh, I see.
They could split.
Gotcha.
My understanding, and one of them was supposed to be a growing lab where they could plant and have seeds growing.
And it was for a number of years. Plants had it at the growth room.
Oh, I bet he did, yeah. Okay.
I saw that a lot in this area, a lot of school districts, and it was, the idea was, have a nice multifunctional teaching, and I've learned in my 20 years doing this, 25 years doing this, that if you don't make it good for one specific thing, it ends up being kind of good for 2 things, and that's kind of what you have. We see that a lot in the late 90s, and we're unfortunately doing these types of remodels. The last thing at the Central Middle School is again, working with the special education team, really rethinking that core area. As Rob said, the teachers are all very pragmatic. I felt like they're not asking for a lot. They're asking for proper sized bathrooms with the facilities they need for those students, some breakout areas, some office areas. So I think we've come to a really good layout where we're remodeling about half their existing area and adding a little bit of square footage, particularly in the life science area. That is one of those those old science labs. It's kind of been reused as their life skills room, and not working really well for life skills, but she's doing the best, or that team's doing the best they can with it. But getting that true life skills area at that middle school level would be a huge benefit. Any questions on, middle school before I move on to elementary school?
Yep, I just clarify one thing. She did. Yep. Just-
Yeah.
But I thought her eyes are better than mine, maybe.
At the elementary schools, a little bit of the same, because they're built the same time. I realize different age students, but still the same issues. Trying to get, first thing to solve is to get that, secure entry sequence at this building. We've got two options in here. One would be on the left is to take over two existing classroom. It is the art and the preschool at South, and the art and the, smart gym at New Heights. I have that switched around, I think. Yeah, but nonetheless, two classrooms up in that corner there, turn that into the main office. We would change the entry. We've worked with both principals, excuse me. They think that would work out well. A little bit of behavioral, rethinking with parents and students, but I think with proper signage, particularly at New Heights, it would work pretty seamlessly because you've already got that drive right out front, that wing. That's right up to the upper right of this plan. So option one is to remodel those existing classrooms, turn that into main office, and then the existing main office would be very similar to what we talked about at the central at the middle school, where it would be a student services area, we'll call it. The other option, which we're showing on the right side of the page, is a small addition at the existing entry, and then taking over one of those classrooms in that wing, turning that kind of suite into a main office entrance. Again, you come into the existing vestibule, you turn right into a door, go into the reception. You'd have your principal there, a couple offices for what, parent and visitor facing folks. Across the hall, we'd have some conference room. The nurse would be over there. So I think we've got a really good layout. Both of those, the addition is certainly a little bit more money. I don't think it's not that much more. So it'd be really talking through which of these two options is the best. And to be honest with you, we didn't come to a real good consensus with the principals. I think we decided both of them would probably work, and both of them have their pros and cons. So that's a discussion for a later day. Know that we went through a lot of different iterations of this.
Hans, I just want to note one thing because it's on my mind.
Yeah.
Where that addition is going, there's a roof drain that comes out that wall there. If you're looking at the front doors, it's to the right.
Yep, I remember that.
There's a large glacier right there in that corner.
Yeah.
It's engulfed part of the classroom window.
Yeah.
Just something to think about, I guess.
Really? It took over part of the wind.
Yeah, I don't think we could do anything at this point because it'd break the window trying to get the ice out of there, but.
We'd have to, we'd manage that.
Yeah.
Good catch. Remember seeing that. Here, what we're trying to depict here on the right side, each one of those pods has a discovery center, very underutilized. If you're familiar with those buildings, kind of an open area. It's got a range in there. We talked to quite a bit of the staff, try to understand, get some consensus of what they prefer to be at both buildings. They're just looking for more breakout area for one-on-one, for small group learning. At the elementary school, it'd be one-on-one, one-on-two teacher, or even sensory areas for deregulation spaces for some of those kids. So in this case, we're showing kind of in that core area, three new rooms, and take back and better utilize those discovery centers. And then the last thing, again, similar story to the special education in the core area, looking to expand a little bit in the existing library, add some breakout areas, add some offices, and then right size the bathrooms there for those students. And what we went through here generally is the same at New Heights. There's a little bit of nuance, but for tonight's discussion, it's generally the same layout and update. Any questions, comments on the elementaries? All right, I talked about, you know, kind of some possibility thinking here, these next two slides. I just wanted to give you a flavor of some projects that we've done. There's a tech ed updates we've done. I'm not suggesting this is what we would do for your building, but what I wanted to just give you a flavor is, you know, where we're doing these updates, either expansions or new buildings, trying to give these students more elbow room. So number one, for safety. Number two, to do the bigger, larger projects, whether it's sheds. We're seeing a lot of students getting into construction, so they're framing up a wall, drywalling a wall, doing the electrical behind it, doing the plumbing behind it, tearing it down. That takes up space. Usually you have 3 or 4 students on one of those centers swinging hammers, doing wiring. So you can see that in all these pictures, just trying to open things up a little bit, finding good workspace, whether it's floor space or on tables. And then again, from a secure entrance perspective, again, a lot like what you've already done here at the high school. We're looking to keep it a welcoming entrance, yet trying to make sure the doors are such that you can exit properly in an emergency, but it forces people coming in to go to a central staging area, all while keeping a lot of visibility available for both students and visitors and staff. All right. Everything that I just talked about is under the presumption that we've got a early childhood area, separate one, right? So we spent a lot of time on these first two are, again, we probably went through 7 different iterations on what we could do, and we're still working to some extent refining, but I think what's bubbled to the top is an addition, one of 3 items I want to go through tonight. Number 1, an addition to New Heights, to the south side of New Heights. Now, if we're familiar with that site, that would require us to build over the bus garage, maintenance garage. That site's tight as it is. So in order to do that, that would allow us then to put, we're showing some gray area there for proper circulation. Ideally, we can have a dedicated drop off for those parents that are walking kids in, pulling them out. Whether it's a loop then in conjunction with parking, or separate drop off, pickup loop, and separate parking for the additional teachers there. That's obviously going to be one of the more expensive ones, because if we do that, we've also got to build a new bus garage. Maybe we determine it needs to be done anyways. The other option would be go out to South Point, where you've got more land. We wouldn't be forced to build a new bus garage. We could again go to the south there. We'd have to update that bus loop, add some parking, and either of these we would add an dedicated elementary playground as part of this. That would probably be the most feasible, but the one kind of gotcha is now you've got preschool kids with see if I get this right, 3, 4, 5, right? So then you ask yourself, can we recharacterize the school, as a first, second, or
Switch 'em.
kindergarten?
Switch them?
Yeah, switch them.
Potentially?
So that would be something to talk about. You know, we've again talked about the pros and cons of that. They're the same school layout.
Makes sense. This will be a
Yeah, but it's a
big ask.
It's a behavioral thing. It's a community thing.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the New Heights. Is there not enough room to the west side of the building?
There really isn't.
There isn't?
Trying to kind of finagle it.
Okay.
Really, again, part of it is about trying to get a good, seamless drop off for those parents that are walking students in.
Okay.
So that's 2 options. Before I leave this, as we talk about a potential bus garage. This plot plan, your plan makes the most sense for a future bus garage, if we're talking that step. And then the third option is standalone early childhood in that exact same spot that I just talked about. A bus garage could potentially go. Now, a standalone building is going to be a little bit more expensive because you've got additional square footage that you wouldn't need as part of an addition. So we need to have some receiving area. We would need to have an area carved out for warming. If you're going to go to a full day K, 3K, 4K, you're eventually going to want to serve lunch. So you need some of that square footage. There's some additional just administrative area that we want to have included here that you may not be able to utilize as part of you know, that you'd be able to utilize as part of an addition to those two other elementary, because you kind of already have some admin sharing staff there. And then, of course, much more parking and much more drive loop. So this is the most expensive, but again, it's not unheard of to have a standalone early childhood building. We're doing a lot of these at other school districts throughout Wisconsin and Minnesota. So something to consider.
And so as we were working through this, we were asked about, you know, the weather isn't necessarily, wonderful around here all the time.
What?
Yeah. And so we were asked about, you know, indoor motor space for these littles. And so as we were talking about perhaps a multi-purpose space, we got into the conversation of, well, we also have a need for gym space. And so you'll see as we work through this book in the back, there's a table Hans will step you through in a little bit here. But optionally basically an elementary gym that would be attached to the preschool for their motor needs, but also for other needs that the district has.
Generally for for the early childhood, they just need a play space to, you know, get the wiggle out, get their energy out. We wouldn't build a full-size gym. But this would be the opportunity to consider if gym space is limited and a need within the district, which we hear it is, you know, rather than build this space dedicated for early childhood, let's build a right-sized gym so that during the day, the little ones can use it, and in the evening, you know, sort of the community can use it. So that's something to consider. The last item, you know, it's a little bit of eye chart. I realize that you heard that there's a need for at the sports complex. A dedicated concession, restroom, storage areas is lacking there. Again, economies of scale would best be to do whether it's part of a elementary addition here, an elementary standalone, potentially a bus garage. That way you don't have a separate building with additional utilities. It would be less expensive to do it as part of a small addition there. We've done that, something to consider. And then we all know the parking issues down there as part of that sportsplex. So on the south side, we're showing an additional parking area off Bigland. Get those folks stop parking in there, stop parking in the bus loop. So both line items for consideration by the admin, by the board, ultimately by the community. Any questions? Thoughts?
Is there any room for a parking spot on the northwest side of that complex? I just know where there's football fields there, and that highway gets lined with cars during pickup and drop off.
The answer is yes. We could, that's one place we looked. We wanted to avoid having to recreate that football field somewhere else.
Okay.
So there's not room to do it without.
That's what I was wondering, is there?
Without getting into the football fields, no.
Okay.
You know, the hope on a normal daily, you know, places, you know, staff was more, you know, down in here, the whole front parking.
Sure.
You know, it changes some, you know, that was part of the conversation. Is it perfectly ideal? You know.
I know during practice, the staff lot is empty. It's
No, I know what you're saying, you know.
It's just more convenient for the people to park on the highway.
Yeah.
As it's not, if we could get a parking lot in there somehow, they'd use it, but like you guys said, I don't think there's room up there.
Not without losing, you know, I
Yeah.
think there's actually, is there two fields that they practice
fields.
on? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and to get rid of one of them is not, I mean,
Sure.
not ideal, obviously, you know, so that was kind of is that what you were gonna hit, Matt?
Just
Okay.
relearn where to park, and try to move staff towards like that southeast, so that would be that southwest, which is the current parking lot, open more.
Sure.
Ideally for events and things like that for parents.
Okay.
So that's kind of again, 50,000 foot view of what's in this document. A lot more detail in the report. Sure. Yeah, let's entertain me for 2 minutes. If you go back to the financials.
Very back of the book.
Very back of the book at 8. Pull out the first 11 by 17. I think it's important to just walk through how this lays out. Working left to right. And I know there's a lot here. Rob and I work with this every day. I guarantee you guys will get used to this pretty quickly once you've had a chance to digest it. Uh-oh, that's not good. Yep, they do. Yeah, we'll have to change that. That's not in it. This isn't a title. It's there.
In middle school.
So on the left side, we've got priority. These are kind of the immediate priority items. Then we got phase two, again, just trying to bucket what might be in, what it might be out. All that means, if there's a check on the very left side in the high priority or the priority items, it rolls up at the bottom. Numbers on the very right roll up at the bottom. So again, if somebody always does this to me, they'll add up all the numbers and they'll say, Hans, you are not a very good engineer. Your math doesn't add up. No, it's because, for instance, HSES-4 is there for informational only. It doesn't roll up at the bottom because it's not checked in the immediate priority. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And the point of this is ultimately we have a workshop here. We can pull this Excel sheet up and we can play check in, check out and see what the totals are and find out what project we want to get to once we understand what the community's tax tolerance is. That makes sense?
Yes.
So we've got our priority in and out. We've got our FIN number, facility improvement measure numbered. That's just our Nexus nomenclature so we can keep track. We've got a report number. So if you open up the senior high, if you're reading through and you want to know what is this building controls replacement all about, you go to page 1 in the senior high tab and you can read about it. Generally, the way it's structured is what's the existing situation, what's our solution, what's the scope of work that you're spending $1.289 million on. Does that make sense? And I think the rest of this is self-explanatory. Again, a quick description of what is in that measure and that budget. Again, these are budgets. Nexus doesn't swing any hammers. These aren't proposal. What we would do moving forward, once we have an approved amount, we would assemble our design team. We put together and go through a design process involving your district staff, put drawings together. They're bid out to the lowest qualified vendor. What's included here, we've got built-in inflation, knowing this stuff isn't going to be done for a year and a half or so. We've got some contingency built in here. We've got numbers in here, all the required numbers for engineering, for state permits, for state review, and then all the construction administration for implementing this. So this is an all-in number.
Okay.
Perfect.
Wow.
All right, moving on. So ultimately, as we work through this, we've talked about the engagement of the public. We are working with Ellers, gentleman by the name of Matt Hammer. He's been instrumental in helping us some of these varying levels based on where your current net is, how things may fall off, how we may take advantage of that. But ultimately, and you'll see in these spreadsheets, we're showing you what are the varying funding mechanisms that you could take advantage of. It's more educational than anything else. The vast majority of this likely will go, if you go to referendum, But what we're showing you is items that might be available for your base LTFM. Health and safety is another option, abatement levy. And is everybody familiar with abatement levy? Abatement levy, generally speaking, is you have the opportunity to increase the taxes of your constituents without going to the voters in order to improve parking lots and adjacent ADA type space, sidewalks, those types of things. So that's another opportunity. Health and safety also, just this last year, gives you the ability to improve roofing without having to go to your voters, because roofing has become so incredibly expensive. Indoor air quality, again, just in general. So you have a variety of funding mechanisms. When you look at the spreadsheets will show you what qualifies. And we're hoping to educate, have good conversation, and see where ultimately you may go, depending on where the public's at.
Sure.
So that's this financial solution piece. Public opinion polling, we already spent just a ton of time covering this. And we're looking forward again. It ends on March 23rd. Looking forward to sharing with you the results at your April board meeting. timeline, next steps, you will see, and, you know what? That there's a lot of stuff in sort of condensed in April. If the idea is to go to referendum in August, not saying that's the plan, but we're just planning for if you were to go in November or in 27, at least we have everything done by August, which would be the earliest we could possibly shoot for
This August
this August. Avoiding, the general election that's gonna happen
in
November.
November.
And so you'll see that, we, working with Kevin and School Perceptions, January 28th, we kicked off the survey. Tonight, delivering the comprehensive plan to you. The facility task force, I'm looking to engage their first meeting in likely early March, having the second meeting with them in early April. We are going to present the community survey results to you at your board meeting in April. The community facility task force may see those results first, just from a timing standpoint. If there's heartburn on that, please let Kevin know and we'll make stuff work. Okay. And then ultimately, let's see here. Perhaps at your board meeting in April or a special board meeting a little bit later in April, the task force, they'll provide a recommendation to you. There'll be a group of volunteers or basically the people who pull their shortest straw. They will come in front of the board. They'll deliver a very brief presentation that'll talk about their experience, what they learned, some of the concerns their group has in moving forward, some of the things that they think are musts, and ultimately what their recommendation is to go to referendum or not. If they choose to go to referendum, what does this structure look like from a ballot question standpoint? Does it include the operating? Doesn't? You all as a board can choose to fully adopt, partially adopt, or not adopt at all what the recommendation of that group is. I've been doing this a long time and I've not, well, I did once see where a board didn't adopt the recommendation of the board and ultimately we chose to not go to referendum because there was such a disparity between what the needs of the community were. That's only happened once out of dozens of times. But ultimately, if there's something that you think is needs from an edit standpoint, you certainly have that ability to do that. But more often than not, boards fully adopt the recommendation by the board, which then ultimately becomes a resolution to go to referendum. Something else that's important here to note towards the bottom. A few years ago, the state changed their review and comment, and so the state requires a review of the plans. They want to know, is everything you're asking for, is it educationally related? Have you studied the tax impact? Operationally, what is the impact of this construction? And so the state then either provides a thumbs up, sort of a thumbs up with some required edits, or a thumbs down. And they require that 120 days to do it prior to the August 11th election date. If you choose to go to referendum, you'll have to pass the resolution as we're talking about. That has to happen 74 days prior to August 11th. And that last day is May 29th. Which is your graduation day, by the way.
Okay.
And so generally speaking, that's the timeline. And ultimately, we're grateful, and we're excited with all the engagement we've had so far. We fully believe you're going to have a wonderful result. We have such a supportive community, just in the engagement that we've had so far. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
In that timeline, that's for an August referendum. So if something were to throw a wrench, it could go to November. But we don't want to go to November because you don't get historically good results with the referendum when there's an election.
We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, it
could if it needed to, but
could move definitely.
Yeah. I'm just laying it out there for the public.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And again, we're just marching forward. It's better for us to move reasonably quick in preparation, making sure we dot our i's, cross our t's, and be prepared. And if you choose to go, great. And if you choose to wait, great. This is, as Hans has told you, I've told you, this is your community's project. This is a Nexus project. We're just here to consult and support.
So take time, the booklet that they have, I'm gonna say, for the most part, a pretty easy read. You know, it's in pretty, I'm gonna say, layman's terms. If there are specific questions or ideas, by all means holler. We will get, an electronic version, of the whole thing that'll end up getting put on the website. I mean, is public info, no different than any of the other stuff. When survey results come out, for the most part, transparency is a huge piece of it. So, we will figure out the right place on the district site and start, compiling or putting stuff out there. But by all means, holler if there's questions. If you find other edits, nothing personal, but I mean, the information is correctly.
Amanda's gonna find them.
No, it's.
Oh, man. And we will provide those images to you that you can.
Yeah.
And no, this is a little bit of a living document. I always joke that once we hit print on it, it's already out of date, because we'll come up with more stuff, and I tempted to take all that back and give you the right numbers at the header, but truly, if you can look past that, the numbers are right, and those numbers will change as we keep moving on, so you'll have an opportunity to put an amended financial sheet in here as we move forward.
The other
taking this from me.
Even as we did, what was it, last Tuesday or whenever, even, new ideas continue to come and adjustments. And I mean, as admin was meeting, we even started throwing a whole nother concept or idea around. So I mean, nothing's set in stone on any of it, until, down the road. But the concept is to figure out, what
The best way.
obviously what we
Yeah.
like and where we go. And like I say, there's still, there'll be other ideas that come out, so.
Perfect.
Right.
It's exciting.
Well, that's,
Good.
I realize now that, we're probably the only thing between you guys and, dinner.
Bed. Going home.
So apologies for that, but,
okay.
it was good use of time.
Yeah,
It was-
no,
it-
thank you so much. Any questions before we wrap up today? Yeah, it was great.
Mhm.
Okay, 13.0 is to adjourn the regular meeting. I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on adjourning? All right. Oh, I didn't vote, but are we all
Oh,
in agreement?
yeah.
Thank you.